What's up, guys? Chris from the Review Cave here, recording another video for you guys on the exact same day as my One Piece video. Today I will be talking about Chapter 261 of My Hero Academia. And what a chapter it was. Coming off from the previous chapter where Mirko busts in through the wall, shattering a bunch of jarred quirks to where Dr. Ujiko's secret lab is and where Shigaraki supposedly is, we start off from that area. Mirko ends up telling everyone where she is and starts to, attack the doctor to see if he actually is the real one or just another twice quirk. Twice quirk clone. Which, even at the end of this chapter, we're not entirely sold on the fact that he is the real doctor. Because until he gets hit with a decent blow, then we have no idea. He could just be a clone and just continues to act like the actual doctor because the clones tend to act exactly how they're supposed to be made. I personally think that this might be the real doctor, but there's still no concrete evidence to show this. We do have this flashback with Johnny, the tiny Nomu that was crushed underneath the jar shelves. But even then, a clone can still have the memories of said person, if I believe so. So, regardless, let's get into talking about what happens throughout this chapter. So, when Mirko busts in, being the amazing... I'm not going to get into it because everyone knows that every My Hero fan is going to make Mirko their new waifu. Mirko busts in showing her number 5 hero material, goes in to try and hit... I can't talk today. Goes in to try and deal a good hit to the doctor to try and determine whether or not he's a clone or not. She makes a contact, or at least it seems that way. Right before she made contact, another tiny Nomu with twice his quirk managed to make a clone of the doctor to take the brunt of the hit from Mirko before the doctor was initially hit. Now, while this was going on, the doctor was having a flashback to him creating Johnny, petting him like a little pet, and also showing the fruits of his labor, the Nomu, to a younger All-For-One. Thus, All-For-One confirming with words that him and Dr. Ujiko are pretty much friends. Most likely with the same ideals, and they help each other out. So I do believe that this helps determine that when All-For-One was rising to power, he needed people he could trust, and Dr. Ujiko was, in fact, one of them, thus developing a very strong friendship between them, which allows Dr. Ujiko to be insanely loyal to All-For-One, and All-For-One completely trusting him. But anyway, as Mirko tells everyone about where she is, Aizawa, Endeavor, and the rest of the pro heroes that are at the hospital end up fighting a bunch of Nomu at the exact same time while they're in the hospital. Endeavor saying that it could take them a while to make it down to the lab due to the vast amount of Nomu that the doctor has let out. As this is going on, the Shield hero Crust, who is the number 6 hero. Now, I know everyone's going to be drawing a bunch of Rising of the Shield hero analogies and comparisons to this guy. Honestly, he's called the Shield hero, but, okay, but he just has a very weird name. He's named after the most useless part of the pizza. But anyway, so Crust starts running down the hall to try and find an entrance to the lab and the morgue, and he ends up seeing a bunch of empty corridors. As he's running through there, Mirko ends up trying to get another hit in at Dr. Ujiko, but thanks to Mocha, the Nomu that I told you before, made that clone, it gave Ujiko enough time to activate the high-end Nomu that he had in his lab. About 5 of them, I believe, from my count, I think it was 5 high-end Nomu were released. Now, as Dr. Ujiko was going through his whole mental gymnastics kind of deal while he's, being stressed and cornered in this sense, we then get to learn that it took Hood, the original high-end Nomu that went to attack Endeavor, 10 hours to stabilize. Now, we don't officially know what stabilize means. Could it mean that it had an idea for it to muscle memory on how it uses its quirks, how it could actually go through full-on thought processes, how it could strategize or something like that, or to use its multiple quirks at once, or it will take time for it to have its cells completely stabilize. I guess that's what they could go for it. It's never really fully explained on what the stabilized thing means. So we're still left guessing. But once the Hyans break free, they automatically attack Mirko, and at the same time of them grabbing Mirko, she manages to kick an arm and a head off of one of them, and she is then flung into the wall with a pretty decent hit, and she's dripping blood from her head and everything. And thus the Hyans start to talk. One Hyan gets out and it meets Crust on his way. Now, the interesting thing is that this Hyan that meets Crust calls him by name. He says, "You are the shield hero Crust. I don't know much, but that is who you are." Now, that could mean that some of these Hyans could have some memory of who they were, or just basic information from their past lives. That could be an interesting aspect to explore. But as the doctor is getting ready to get on his chair to take him and Shigaraki out, Mirko starts to stare down at him, blood dripping from her face, with a big smile on her face, saying, "I'm not going to let you get away. You think it's going to be that easy?" Now, that's how the chapter ends. This was a good chapter. We got to see Uchiko unleash a bunch of Hyan Nomu. We got to see Mirko actually get a solid hit in, well, against the high end. I believe she knocked that one out of commission, and she has to face off against 3. While Crust faces off against 1, and the rest of the pros are fighting off a horde of normal Nomu. Now, we all know that Mirko has a lot of physical strength based on her aspects and her taking on from what I can tell from the previous chapter, roughly 10 normal Nomu at the same time without any effort. But these are Hyans. These have multiple quirks, and their physical strength is a lot higher than the normal Nomu, as well as their regeneration. So, from what I can tell, I believe that they could lead it into a way where these Hyans are not as powerful as Hood, because if you have Hyan Nomu that are as strong as Hood, or even stronger, they could end up dealing a lot of damage to Mirko and possibly even killing her. This is something that I and many other fans don't want, because we just got a full-fledged introduction to Mirko in this arc. Back in the Hood arc, we only saw her for a brief couple of panels, and that was really it. Now, the one thing I do have to say is that if these Hyans are weaker than Hood, then it gives Mirko a good chance. Once she gets her footing in, she can actually deal some good damage to them and fight them off. She is a number 5 hero. Granted, she does work alone, and she has a lot of fighting capability and physical strength. That's what she has over Endeavor and Hawks in their fight against the Hood. While they're the number 1 and number 2 at this very moment, they don't have the physical raw strength to take down a Nomu. You see, the way things were going with Endeavor, he wasn't able to do what he did to the Nomu he fought in Hosu during the Stain arc, because Hood was insanely fast. And since Endeavor couldn't get a good solid grasp on him to try and like singe away a good chunk of his skin or something, so that Hood would not end up regenerating right away, giving them time to capture him, Endeavor had to constantly burn himself and surpass his limits every single time he can get to try and finally knock the guy out, and that was only with an assist from Hawks. Hood just barely managed to do anything Endeavor and Hawks barely managed to take down Hood. That is the solid truth. Endeavor and Hawks aren't like fighting characters. True, Endeavor can use his flames for more brutal attacks. He can shape his flames into like a spear for a good few seconds. But in the end, he has his limits and Hawks has his limits. The two of them working together just barely beat one high-end Nomu, and these high-ends can have insanely different quirks, but still have the enhanced strength and the regeneration. All the Nomu have enhanced generation, but the fact that if they're weaker than Hood gives Mirko a very good chance of taking them down than if Endeavor was fighting them. Because Mirko has more fighting capability, and I believe in the top 5 heroes, she is the one with the most physical strength. And with her agility, and from what I can tell from after taking that hit, her durability, her strength and jumping power can in fact work to her advantage, because if the Nomus aren't as fast as her, she can have a good fight against them and actually win. Crust, on the other hand, we don't know his full capabilities. We don't know how he can use his hardening type quirk that for create shield and stuff like that, scale like shields in a fight. For all we know, he's very good at defense, but he might not be so great at offense. But from the panel we're shown, he can in fact do some offensive damage. But we'll have to wait and see for the next chapter to see what happens. For all we know, it could only take. For all we know, these high ends, since they're not stabilized, are weaker than Hood. But even if they're stronger than Hood, the fact that they haven't taken the time to stabilize could mean that they could end up falling apart, like that whole weird clone thing in fiction, where if they're not given the proper time for particular adjustments and stuff like that, they can just fall apart given a couple of minutes or hours. But yeah, this was an interesting chapter. It basically shows Ujiko getting away and getting Shigaraki out of the way at this point from right now, leaving his high ends that are not 100% finished to deal with the Nomu, with the pro heroes, and leaving things to them, while the other heroes are going to try and attack the Liberation Front's mansion where Hawks is currently staying at. So yeah, this arc is only just getting started, and we already have some setups for some really good fights. And we honestly are going to have to see how strong Endeavor has gotten after the events of the Pro Hero arc and how he took down the Hood. Because he's the #1 hero, and he is trying to be the best hero he can be to help inspire the people and protect them. So I wouldn't be surprised if he worked more on his fighting capabilities to try and get into more close combat to help deal with future high-end Nomu. Now, Eraser could help with him as well due to the fact of nullifying quirks. But it stated when his fight with the first Nomu that if their base strength is heightened without the use of a quirk, or with just a quirk that is basically always active, he can nullify it. So if there's any quirks aside from that, like a quirk that mutation or emitting type, more like emitter type quirks, or quirks that can alter the body at will, he can nullify that. So that would help with high-end Nomu like that. But even still, there's not much I can tell. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about this chapter and what could possibly happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog review, and I really do hope you guys watch more of these videos. I'm going to try and get these videos out as much as I possibly can right after the release of the initial chapters, so look forward to my reviews and discussions. Now, it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought. Did you like this video? Did you like this recent chapter of My Hero? How do you see the story playing out, and how do you think the heroes are going to deal with these high-end Nomu? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload new videos. And I hope you guys have an awesome day.